I have a lot of favorite topics in sociology. You'll hear me oftentimes going, oh, this is my favorite. Oh, that's my favorite. But I think education truly is my very favorite. I have wanted to be a teacher since I was 12 years old. And so that's a lot of years now. And so the fact that I get to study education and the education system from a larger perspective, from a smaller perspective, from every perspective is just something that I absolutely love. I want to introduce you, possibly, maybe you've heard of this word, but if not, to the word pedagogy, which is the method and practice of teaching. I will oftentimes refer to pedagogy or pedagogical, like pedagogical philosophies or choices. And so I just wanted to make sure that I define that at the beginning. Of course, now that I have, I probably won't say it at all, but just in case. But that idea of pedagogy is why you do what you do when you are trying to teach someone. The other thing I want to talk about for a second is education as an institution. And so the public school system. The public school system was founded by a gentleman named Horace Mann, who I believe, I don't have my notes in front of me, I believe he was the Secretary of Education, like the first one in the United States. I believe it was in Massachusetts, and it was in the late 1700s. You can Google it and find out. So Horace wanted an education system that he would call the great equalizer of opportunity. And he wanted it to be a balance wheel of social machinery. And so what he's trying to get at is the fact that previous to having a public school system, people were only educated if they had the financial means to be educated. And so by developing free and appropriate public education for everyone, that was supposed to be an equalizer in society, that everybody would get an equal chance. And when you think about that equal chance, that, as we've talked about social inequalities and social privilege and oppressions and things of that sort, it's an idea that we link very closely to the American dream, that idea that everybody does get equal chance in school and everything. But as we've been kind of critiquing in this course, that's not necessarily always true. And so what I want to show you is mission statements from a couple of schools actually here in Orange County that you can see the structural differences. And so remember, if structural inequalities in society are the social institutions that have inherent inequalities in and of themselves. And so it's that people are not getting an equal opportunity. And then we have agency, if you remember, our free will. So let's think about the fact that you could have a school that really presents a structural inequality to students because it is not presenting as strong of an educational opportunity. But then maybe you do have some students within the school who are so hardworking and so tenacious and looking for opportunities and everything, and they succeed and they're great students and go on to great successes. But they were up against the odds of having a school that was struggling. But I want to talk about what mission statements are for a quick second. If you remember, think about that the last time you saw a mission statement, it's the mission, right? The mission statement. It's the statement of goals and purpose and hopes and dreams. It can be overly dramatic sometimes, but it can be very purposeful and meaningful. And so since you are all enrolled at Santiago Canyon College, I thought you could take a second and recite to yourself the Santiago Canyon College mission statement, right? Do you know the Santiago Canyon College mission statement? Have you ever even seen the Santiago Canyon College mission statement? It's kind of the thing about mission statements, right? They're tucked away and we don't really see them. Some of you, if you're taking classes on campus, I believe like the D building used to always have them hanging like in each classroom because I took classes in the D building and would sometimes get bored and stare at it. So for those of you who are like, I don't know what the mission statement is, here we go. Santiago Canyon College is an innovative learning community dedicated to intellectual and personal growth. Our purpose is to foster student success and to help students achieve these core outcomes: to learn, to act, to communicate, and to think critically. We are committed to maintaining standards of excellence and providing accessible, transferable, and engaging education to a diverse community. Pretty good, right? So I want to show you from one of the, can't remember if it's a junior high or a high school in Orange County, but a mission statement from oh, you can see right there, Santa Ana High School. And this is from a little while ago. So their mission statement may have changed, but you can see that it says, our mission is to provide an encouraging environment through a unified effort of staff and parents. Students will be empowered to excel in their academic, vocational, and social achievements and will become contributing members of our society. So the language there is interesting and is indicative of structural inequalities. And if you don't see it necessarily, when you look at, and I'm about to contrast it to another mission statement of another school, when you're saying just contributing members of our society, granted, that's very, very important, but we're not talking about critical thinking. We're not talking about collegiate level attainment, like earning a way into college. We're not talking about 21st century technology and things of that sort. And so you can see this reflected in the school's demographics and various achievements. And so I want to take you through. This is from 2010 because testing has changed. The last time API scores were ever recorded was 2012, and now they're switching to a whole new system that's taking a few years. But the 2010 API score was 649, which means nothing until you hear that a perfect score is 1,000. So it's a pretty decent distance from 1,000. When you see EL, that means English language learners, individuals who have identified upon registering at the school that English is not the first language spoken in their home. And you can see that that's almost half the school. And then finally, the free and reduced price meal percentage, that's indicative of students being able to qualify for free and reduced price meals in the school, which shows that that school is in an area that has a lot of families dealing with economic inequalities. Therefore, because of their low socioeconomic status, they qualify for free and reduced meals. And that can give you a sense of the area that a school is in and the structural inequalities that the families in the school are up against. So here is another school in Orange County. This is actually a combination junior high and high school in Anaheim. And this is actually in a unique high school. It's a unique school. It's a public school, but it pulls students from the entire district that are the highest achieving students. And so here you can see right in the mission statement, entrance to college, university, post-secondary education. You can see mastery of academics, critical thinking, effective communication skills, and character development. Now you can see their demographics and information. Their API score, 984. Please remember that a perfect score is 1,000. A couple of years later, on the last year that API scores, those standardized test scores, I don't know necessarily if I mentioned that. These scores are coming from when the students each year take standardized tests. It's usually in April or May. I'm guessing if you were a public school, you remember day after day, hour after hour of all those Scantron tests. That's what the API score is. In 2012, before this particular method of testing wrapped up, Oxford Academy got a 995 out of 1,000. And so this school is just off the charts in achievement. How many students are identifying that English is not the first language spoken in their home? 0%. How many students are qualifying for free or reduced price meals? Still a quarter of the school, but that is drastically different than Santa Ana High School with 82%. And so what I'm talking about here is you can see the structural inequalities inherent in the education system. So when we talk about social inequalities and we talk about Horace Mann's dream of education being the balance wheel of society, it is definitely better than not having these opportunities, but we have a long way to go to really create more equal opportunities for students in schools. And one way we can do that is actually a concept I want to introduce to you called pivotal moments. And so this actually comes from a local researcher. She was at Cal State Fullerton, and now she is at Pomona Pitzer College. And so she's written a couple of books on education and how to help students who may have social inequalities in school to achieve college educations and beyond. And so Roberta Espinosa, Dr. Espinosa studied Latina women who were achieving a PhD, and so the highest level of education. And so by doing interviews, she pinpointed that one of the ways that women who are facing various racial and social inequalities achieve this high level was because they had someone who created a pivotal moment for them. They had an institutionalized agent, which means maybe a teacher, maybe a school counselor. And quite honestly, it doesn't necessarily need to be someone working for an institution. It could be possibly a family member or someone else that steps in and says, you can go to college, you are capable. But more than that, it's not just that I'm going to believe in you. So it's not just that I'm going to say that you can do this. You can see in the definition right here that there's forms of guidance, there's information, there's kind of the secrets. Like, this is how you do it. This is how you write a really good letter, or you ask for somebody to write you a really good letter of recommendation. This is how you find the student loans that you may need, or the more so the grants and the scholarships that you may need for school. This is how you do it. So I'm not only going to believe in you, I'm going to support you and show you and help you and be there for you. And so this is a way that individuals can step in and say, I want you to move on in your educational attainment, and I'm going to help you do it. So I want you to think about, did you have someone that really created pivotal moments for you? Because look at where you are. You are a college student. You are reaching high levels of educational attainment. And when you have reached your highest level of educational attainment, you will be the type of person that can create pivotal moments for other people. And so that's why I really want to mention this. The other thing I want to introduce to you is pedagogical methods. There's that word. And so it's two methods from a gentleman named Paulo Freire. And I just think it's interesting because I think you'll see your schooling come alive in one of the methods, and then I hope you see your schooling come on another method. And so I could go on and on and on about education, but I'm trying to kind of do like a buffet method where I give you a little taste of this and a little taste of that. And so the first method is called the banking method. And in the banking method, and again, there's two different methods. The teacher teaches and the students are taught. It's exactly what I'm doing right now. So there is a concept called the mug and jug, which says that students' minds are containers, receptacles to be filled, and the more that's filled, the better the teacher. It's exactly what I'm doing right now. So let's say you've never heard of Paulo Freire and the banking and problem posing method. That'll be the next one I share with you. And so here I am coming in, and you're supposed to be this empty receptacle, right? Your brain is just open and empty. So you're the mug. And so the jug then is supposed to be me walking in with all of this knowledge, and I'm going to pour my jug into your empty mug and fill you up. And the more I fill you up with knowledge and facts and figures, the better teacher I am. I don't have an image of a mug and jug, but I do have a brain and champagne. But the idea is just pouring knowledge into your brains. So this is done because the teacher knows everything, the students know nothing, and we're direct opposites. This is done exactly what you're doing right now. Granted, we're not in a classroom where we can talk to each other, which is unfortunate, but that the teacher talks and the students listen meekly, which means just quietly and attentively. There's a lot of memorizing that happens in the banking method. If discipline needs to occur, the teacher disciplines and the students are disciplined. And then the teacher chooses the program content, and the students who were not consulted adapt to it. And so it's kind of like thinking about, did I email you, several weeks ago when I heard that I would have the opportunity to teach this class? And did I talk to you about the syllabus and get your feedback and see what you think? And what about, those essays or that discussion board idea, something along those lines? What do you think? Should I do this? Should I do that? No, that doesn't happen in education. You get your syllabus is your syllabus, and you have to go along with it. And so that's the banking method. And I see students villainize this like it's, oh, this is terrible, this is awful. But there are some values in the banking method, right? Memorizing, for instance. Yeah, it can be boring and tedious, but there are some certain things that are really handy to have memorized. Like, for instance, right now, if I asked you what's 6 times 7, it's 42. I don't know, not, you probably think I don't know any other times tables. I do. I just can't think of any right now. 5 times 6, 30. 4 times 3, 12. Let's try a hard one. What is 7 times 12? I think it's 84. Why do I know all of this? And why do you know all of this? Because we memorized it in 2nd grade approximately, right? With all those tests and all those quizzes and all those flashcards and everything else. And so memorizing can be important. There are some skills that you just need to know, and you need to know right off. And listening can be important and things like that. So even though the banking method seems kind of austere, there's definitely some value in it. So I don't want to just leave it sounding like, oh, this is everything wrong in education, because I don't necessarily think that that is fair. But then here is the other method. It's called the problem posing method. And this is coming out of a work called Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And you can see the author that I was mentioning, Paulo Freire. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right there. And so in the problem posing method, it's now acts of intellect, and it's not just transferring information. And the teacher is no longer merely the one who teaches, but who himself is taught or herself is taught. And students are co-investigators. And when you think about the way that I structure assignments in this class, I'm really, even in an online class where this is difficult, trying to get to these problem posing methods where it's not just necessarily transferring information, but it's getting you thinking. It's getting you being reflective. Remember, thinking about why you're thinking what you're thinking. It's getting you to connect how you're learning is coming alive in your life. And quite honestly, by you making those connections and me reading about them, you're teaching me. When you come up with something that's unique to your experience and a level of analysis that I might not have had an opportunity to really think about, you're teaching me. And you're investigating society right along with me. And so students are increasingly posed with problems relating to themselves in the world. This is why so often my assignments are focused on personal aspects of your life. Why does this matter in your life? It regards dialogue as indispensable. And so that's why when there are discussion boards, I'm really trying to encourage a level of discussion that's really approachable, that it's not necessarily always about breaking down concepts, but it's really about hearing from each other and sharing experiences in a more engaging way. And then finally, it bases itself on creativity, stimulates true reflection, and action upon reality. So it's very practical and it's very intriguing. And so it's really energized. So, not to say then again that banking is terrible, but sometimes banking lacks energy, whereas problem posing method, everybody's involved and everybody has ownership. And so I'm hoping through this online class, even though it has to be done in some kind of unconventional ways, I don't get as many opportunities as I do in a face-to-face class, that you can see the problem posing method coming alive. And I very much hope that you can see the problem posing method coming alive in your other classes. And so I hope you've also enjoyed taking a look at these pedagogical techniques and thinking through what kind of inequalities there are in education and how you can be a person that creates pivotal moments and can create opportunities for others in your life to learn from you.